What's up, guys? Anyone listening? Probably not, but at least we're right now. Several people have been coming to me telling me that I should start a podcast. I'm all for the deep conversations and going in depth with these conversations, random things. So a bit about me. Grew up in Toronto. Grew up in public housing. Grew up without a dad. Dad left when I was about 8 years old, give or take. Other siblings. So my mom was a single mom. Did all the right things, just dad was an asshole and left. So it's not on her. She got married, she had kids, she did all the steps and everything like that. But things happen, so here we are, right? Further, was in the military, did 13 years, did a tour in Afghanistan. I'll get further in depth with that down the road. 2008, 2009, was over there. Hyena Road is the road I traveled on. It's the movie on Netflix. Check it out, it's not bad. And right now I'm currently working for another government job that I don't want to specify. Because I don't know where this is going to take me, and I don't know if I don't need any more further complaints, or don't need complaints, period, I should say. But that being said, I just want to talk about PTSD. Coming back from tour, it seems like a lot of the guys from my tour suffered a lot from PTSD. And the guys in my platoon section, it seems like a lot of them are suffering from PTSD, and I wasn't. And I don't know if I haven't yet. I don't know if it's gonna kick in tomorrow, today, I don't know. Or if ever. I don't know what it is, why I'm different. I always joke about how it's like, am I like Dexter, and am I fucked up already? Am I messed up? I don't know. I don't think so. I have a lot of empathy for people who don't have it as lucky as most people. I'm always willing to help. That's why I signed up for join the military and things like that. I saw the environment I was growing up with. Like, I can be one of two things: either the negative out of my neighborhood, or the positive, right? It's like there's that meme that shows two brothers sitting on a bench. One brother is successful, the other is homeless. And when asked the question, what's your reason? Both answered, my father was a drunk. So I'd rather be the positive outcome of, let's say a horrible neighborhood, but a bad neighborhood. There's shootings, dad friend was murdered, and things like that. So things like that. So I don't know if that environment I grew up in built me strong mentally. I don't know. But it's just odd. I just find that going through the same things as most of the guys, and I'm coming back fine. And I asked people if they saw any change when I came back or anything like that, and they all said the same thing. They all said that same guy before he left. So I don't know. I mean, I did a lot of prep mentally before going, so I was watching a lot of videos about what to anticipate, what to expect overseas and things like that, and dead bodies and stuff like that. It sucked, but mentally I was like, okay, this is what I thought I was going to see, this is what I was going to expect. Okay, just push forward. I kind of didn't think too much into the bodies I saw. It's just more just like, okay, carry on. Kind of saw them as objects. Kind of helped, I guess. I didn't go into depth like, oh, is this person was a father and mother or son, daughter, or someone or anything like that. I just thought, okay, that's a person, move forward. To me, it's just like, I'm going to Afghanistan, and it's expected. But now it's like, the job I'm in now, it's like there's a lot of people going for PTSD, and I'm a first responder, but for the most part, if people need help and stuff like that, I'm all for it. Go get it. Go get yourself fixed. But another things too is that if you feel like you can't get fixed, this job is too much, then maybe this job's not for you. And I don't mean that to downplay or degrade or demean anyone in the field. I could never be a veterinarian. I mean, to me, I love animals, so it's like to put down animals daily or weekly, whatever they do it, how often they do it, I couldn't do it. So that's why I would become a veterinarian. I just think like some people come on this job, they anticipate one thing, what they see on TV, and then all of a sudden it's not what they assume. It's like, I guess they get a bit of a culture shock. I don't know. There's some people claim PTSD, and you're like suspicious. Like, is it actually PTSD, or are you milking it, or are you going through other stuff that's causing issues with you, and you're just throwing this card down so that people don't think it's something else, right? I don't know. I'm not here to judge. I'm just trying to figure out why, right? I've also a breath work facilitator. I got my qualification from Geo. It's a location in Vaughan where we did it on Zoom call and things like that. Learned a lot. I've done a lot of sessions with people, and they've felt amazing afterwards. Felt like relaxed and just content. Some people had stuff they had in their head to figure out, which is great. And I think that's the key. It's like, okay, whatever your issues are, okay, what is it? Okay, deal with it. And I find breath work helps a lot with that. Elemental Rhythm is the place where I got the breathwork training. I've done my level 1. I want to do my level 2 and level 3. Level 1 it's really just eye-opening on the cause and effect of what it can do for people. I always find it to be like it's like the gateway to finding or figuring out what the solutions to your problems are. So let's just say after the breathwork session, you might not have any results or anything like that, but for the most part, people just feel at least relaxed. Some people feel like they're going back to their childhood and just like they saw or they remember something, and then they realize, okay, that's their trauma. And 99.999% of people with addictions suffer from some sort of childhood trauma. So I find that trying to figure out what this, I won't say the solution is, but at least the beginning of the process for that. So I find the breath work is a big component for that. I'm not against doctors, obviously, we don't need medicine, things like that. My views on therapists and psychologists is basically, I find that I don't want to say label all with one brush, because I hate that. I get it a lot myself, but it seems like, I'll see you next week mindset, or see you next month, and it's just like, is there an end goal here? Because I don't want to, I don't think people should be given pills and being numb to the whole situation. They're not fixing their problem, essentially, right? I'm not a big fan of big pharma. They're making a killing, obviously, especially in the last few years, but So like, what's the end goal here? Like, I find that there's studies have shown that people in poverty suffer less depression in comparison to people in the upper middle class or middle class and up. And my thought process is, there's no time to think about depression and to dig and to dwell into issues. It's, I gotta go to work, I gotta pay the bills, I gotta go, I gotta hustle, I gotta keep going. So I think the biggest problem is that people are constantly dwelling because they have all this time in their hands. So if they constantly keep going, there's no time to think of what happened or in the past. And if you dwell in the past, you'll never advance in the future, in my opinion. So you have to learn from the past and just move on, right? That's what there's that saying, knowledge is knowing the past and wisdom is knowing the outcome of the future, right? So that's, I'm trying to focus more on wisdom, okay, what to anticipate, what to expect, things like that. So I don't know what the solution is, but I find that people who are more outdoorsy find a more tranquil contentment with life. Now I don't know if it's nature itself, going back to our roots, where our ancestors came from, if it's just the direct sunlight, there's the fact that there's you're not in touch with social media, no TV, nothing. It's just you, the fire, food. If you're hungry, eat something. I don't know. I don't know what. I guess we'll figure it out one day. I don't know. But I think it's the mindset of just like, there's no distractions, and I think that's the biggest key. But I'm not too sure. I'm starting a business called Lobos. If you don't know, Lobos in Spanish is wolf, and yes, in Spanish. My name's Jose. I might give it away. But my parents both from Spain. Now the whole duel is basically there's that saying, I believe it's Cherokee proverb. I don't know who the original person who said it. There's other sources that say that came from, it's twisted with some sort of Christian Catholicism or something. I don't know. But the saying is essentially, there's a Cherokee grandfather who's with his grandson, and he's telling his son or his grandson that there's a battle within us with two wolves. One wolf is anger, jealousy, greed, ego, and lies, etc. And then there's another wolf that's good, joy, peace, love, humility, truth, etc. And the grandson asks, well, who wins? And the grandfather replies, the one you feed. I've noticed that a lot, where people with PTSD, they're in this mindset of this constant digging their own brain, and this, like, something has to, the world, what happened to me sucks, and this is BS, and what the world did to me is wrong, etc. In a nutshell. And I agree with it. Whatever happened to you that shouldn't have happened to you, I agree, shouldn't have happened. But life isn't fair. Now you can sit and dwell on it and hope that there's a magic cure or a magic wand and make it all go away, or you can use the tools you have within you and fix it. There's that saying where it takes 7 muscles to frown, only 1 to smile, or something like that. I just always try to think of the positive, right? There's so many ways and how to fix things, and it's just like I said, it's just you have to keep your mind distracted, but you have to kind of do it more of a positive outcome. So whether it's training, exercise, going for walks. I train jiu-jitsu. That, I mean, I think is so important. Because if you're going through a rolling session, it's you and an opponent, and if you dwell on, oh, did I pay my bills today? Did I leave the kitchen on? Whatever. It's like you don't have time to think about that because the person in front of you is going to choke you out. So you have to focus on what's in front of you at that point, and I think that's vital, right? And then that helps you with that mindset where it's like everything you brought in going into training, the class, whatever it is you were upset about, you forget about it at the end of class. You're like, it's not even worth it. That's, I'm not here to give medicine advice, but it helps my mental health. It's really good for my line of work. And it's constant, figuring out puzzles, and I love I'm addicted. I just wish I could do more and more of it, but kids, right? I just find that there's a lot of more solutions out there than what's presented, and that needs to be rectified. But going back to the PTSD, it's like, people say there's a stigma about people with PTSD, and I don't think so. Obviously, people do suffer from PTSD, no doubt. But I find that if a coworker came to me or came to anyone and said, hey, I'm having these issues with whatever, scene, call, issues at home, whatever the case is, and brought it up to the attention of their peers, I guarantee you, people are like, I'm here to help you out. What do you need? Like, there is, people joke about it, but I think that's just the environment we work in. And I think that environment is basically, helps with our mental health. I mean, we're always talking about mental health stuff, but that's because it's like it's a defense mechanism. I think that's key because there's a lot of people we go through and see a lot, and I think it goes back to we're going to one call to another call to the next call. It helps with dealing with whatever issues we're seeing, and sometimes you'll see certain first responders upset, attitude, whatever the case is. It's like they may just very well be just a bad person, right? But they may also just going through a lot of stuff. Could have gone to a previous call that was really rough on them, on their psyche, and then all of a sudden it's just like, okay, I'm going to this call. The importance level is really low, and they don't have time for it all of a sudden. And then people are upset. It's like, oh, you're not listening to me, whatever the case is. It's like, well, you don't know what that person just finished going through. So it could be something in regards to that. I find that people need to be more empathetic towards first responders and understand the BS that we go through. And there's particular first responders that get a lot of scrutiny, and it's annoying. So it's like the media portrays a lot about it, and I'm not a fan of the media. If it bleeds, it leads, right? That's their big MO. But I find that a lot of first responders need to figure out solutions on how to deal with it, because it's not the person in the next call's fault why you're feeling a certain way as well, right? There's got to be accountability on both sides, not just one. The biggest thing I find is what helps with me is like jiu-jitsu, like I mentioned, but breath work as well. Breath work I find is like holotropic breathing. first time I experienced it, I was on a retreat, and and Saturday morning, I did it, and my mindset was like, we're doing a lot of this hippie stuff. There's a shake involved, and I'm like, what the hell's going on here? Just extremely biased, and I'm like, okay, sure, I'll go with it. I'm here. I paid for it. So I'm going with it. I'm giving 100%. Whatever the instructor was, Gio at the time. Going through with it. It's a lot of breathing. Using the 4 elements. So earth, water, air, fire. And at the end of the session's about approximately 40 minutes, 50 minutes, give or take. At the end of it, my mind was completely blown. I had the visions of me as a child, approximately 17 years old, and the guided meditation is where my mind was blown. Where it's like, picture your younger self, and I picture my younger self, me there, my current self, and had this vision of like me in uniform, embracing my younger self and telling him it's going to be okay, like, everything's fine, it's okay. And then the thought process, and then I just Niagara Falls, and I couldn't control it, and I didn't want to get out of it. I was just like, what's going on here? It's just this dream state. And then through this guided meditation, Gio was saying, okay, now visualize someone you're super grateful for, and I started focusing on my mom and all the things she had to go through, going back to school, having to do jobs, taking care of us, things like that. Niagara Falls, and I was just like, what? And was this? And I couldn't believe how effective it was realizing it. Like, was that the trauma I had to suffer? Right, not growing up without a dad. I had to learn to be a man. On my own, essentially. My mom had to help, my siblings had to help, and I had to figure it out. And I guess it could be why I kind of idolize a lot of these male figures. It's something that I guess needed. Like Bruce Lee was my idol, Dr. Thomas Sowell. I love Bruce Lee because it was, as great as he was in martial arts, and they say he's the grandfather of MMA. His philosophy is what had impression on me. It's just like just trying to dissect and focus on, like, what do I need to do? Okay, is it this kick that's effective or not? Okay, I don't need to learn this. I need to learn this kick instead because it's more, higher percentage rate. Things like that. And his philosophy on, like, non-racism he had to go through just to teach, and it's with his own as well, not just with people who look the opposite of him, right? But he wanted to teach his culture to non-Orientals and Asians, and he wanted to show the world, this is my culture, and here it is what we do, and here's what's so good about it. And obviously, when he had people from his culture basically saying, we should be doing that, we should teach, stick to our own kind, essentially, right? He's like, you don't want to do that. No, like, we're part of the human race. I love that so much. It's like, yes, there is one race, just the human race. We just have different melanin, right? Dr. Thomas Sowell is another one who just, like, he was a guy who was thought one way growing up as a child, and then when he went to the real world, he realized that he's been lied to, and this is the problem, is what he was told. So he basically, one of his biggest things is like, why did you think one way, not the other, right? Well, what made you think one way, stop thinking one way and doing another? And he basically said facts, right? He talks about a lot of books. Like one book he's got, great book, is Black Rednecks and White Liberals, and it just breaks down the whole slavery aspect. It's like every race, culture had slaves or were slaves at one point. Humankind, human species, yeah, we're not the best, but there's so many positives that outweigh the bad. That everyone's always dwelling on the negative. It's like this victim mentality. That it's like, oh, I'm owed this and I'm owed that. It's like, stop it. It's like, no one owes you anything. The day you pass on, the earth is still spinning. No, the world doesn't stop because you passed on. So what are you going to do about your life? So that's why I'm pushing a lot, especially with first responders, to whatever issues you're going through, fix it. It might take you a week, a month, a year longer, but fix it. If you're not going to fix it, you're going to keep digging in your own brain and make things worse for yourself and those around you. And you're going to start creating a crab mentality. Like, I spoke to my wife about how, in the event, knock on wood, doesn't happen, if I become in a vegetative state from whatever accident that happens to me, I told her, pull the plug. I don't want to be a nuisance to you. It'll be a rough day for you. I get that. I don't want to put that on you, but I think in the long run it's going to be worse, and I don't want that. So, I mean, she's on the same. She agrees. She wants to do the same as well, right? I don't want to be a nuisance on the other people. I want to be pushed to be very independent, and I think that's the positive side. When my dad left, is he left me. You know what? I don't need you, and I'm going to show you that I don't need you. So this is why I think I push a lot of this no BS policy mindset, at least, where it's like, okay, it sucks you're a victim of whatever, X, I'm sorry. I'm here to help you. But if you're not going to help yourself, I'll meet you halfway. But if you're not going to be there when I've met my part, then I'm going somewhere else. Someone who actually wants help. I think once people get out of that mindset, it would be super beneficial for themselves and those around them. And at that point, more and more people will want to be around that person, more positive vibes. I've cut people out of my life for negative. I was like, I don't have time for that. I don't need to be around that. It's poisonous to the mind. And the mind, body, and spirit is all connected. If one is down, you got to fix it. And if you don't, like, it'll bring the others down. And the breath work is, I find, that doorway that helps you find that issue that you are suffering from. It's not 100%, but it helps. Jiu-jitsu for me helps that physical aspect. It helps with the mental aspect. The breathwork helps with the mental and the spiritual aspect. And then eating a healthy life, like living a healthy lifestyle, things like that, helps with all three, right? And I think it's key. I think it's key, and it needs to be done. I gotta figure out a way to spread that word out to as many people as possible. And I hope I'm not here to save the world, but just help those who need it. And I'll meet them halfway. If not, I'm going to the next person. That's the way I see it. Hope to in the future, just start teaching jiu-jitsu and help with breathwork facilitation, things like that. I'd rather go to people's houses, or at least where they feel safe and comfortable, because at least it gives them a more relaxed situation. But we'll see how it goes and see what happens. About to drive to work, so I guess we'll see what happens in the next vlog, video log, right? So here I am for Dual Lobos. My name's Jose. Here's my logo. Check me out on Instagram at Thestoiclobo. I think stoicism is key, but I'll get to that in the next videos. All right, so talk to you guys later.